Cool. Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. Cool. Hello, everybody. We are now live on YouTube. And here's Jeremy.
Hello. Yep.
Welcome, everybody, to Spiritual Sundays. I'm just getting the last of the sunshine in the back garden. I hope the wind noise isn't going to be too much. Is it really windy?
I don't hear anything. I don't hear any wind noise, Mike.
Okay, cool. Because it's kind of windy and sunny. But it's so nice to be out with all the plants and the sky, and so relaxing.
Yeah, and the wind blowing your hair as well. You can see the.
The good flow, Mike. You got the good hair for that.
Well, I went dancing last night, so I got quite sweaty, and it sort of conditions your hair. if you go, if you have a proper good night's dance, it tends to make your hair less fly away. So that's another benefit of going out dance. I think everybody should go out dancing a lot more often.
Yeah. Just to let things go, just to let your body move the way it wants to.
Just get loose and just have some fun, and just get with other people and just enjoy the kind of the music. It's a joyous thing. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I went out dancing last night. And there was a gentleman and his wife dancing at the front of the dance floor, and then this guy, he ended up grabbing my hand, and I'm dancing with this guy who was like so ecstatic to just dance with people. Yeah, so I'm with you there on the dancing last night.
Cool.
It was fun. How are you guys today?
I'm marvelous, and I'm currently visiting some old high school friends in Victoria, which is lovely. And there was a high school reunion, not my high school, but I mean I was friends with people in different high schools, and so it was nice. Some of the people were in town just to visit. And behind me is a cemetery. You can't really quite see, but this is it's quite an old cemetery. Well, old for Canada, and it's very close to a university called Royal Roads University, and that was originally, I believe, it was for training military. So people in the military that were studying to be engineers and sort of the higher education side of things. And it was one of the castles, or one of the places there looks a bit like a castle. And actually there was a movie called the X-Men. And so Xavier's school. So the school that was helping the young X-Men coming in, they've been there. So that's where they did the filming for that movie in particular, that series.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, so I'm just going to click record on Zoom. We're live on YouTube, but we're just going to start recording the Zoom right now, because that's just the three of us. And let's say record to this computer.
So being in Victoria, British Columbia, really close to Royal Roads University, where they now have MBA programs. It's open to the general public now, but it used to be military training. And it's interesting how the X-Men, this Xavier School was a school based on helping people with superpowers learn how to develop and to use their powers, especially for forces of good in general, for creating peace and balance in the world and the universe. So it feels appropriate. Very nice. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome everybody to Courses for Spirit, and this is our Sunday meditation practice and discussion. And today a subject I thought would be quite interesting to cover is the subconscious. And the reason why I came upon it is I'm just finishing the final edit of a book that I've written. It's taken me quite a while to write it. And the basis of, one of my friends had asked questions about it, because he does know that he dreams, but he doesn't quite remember his dreams. And so he was wanting to know about that. And so I realized that in the book I hadn't really explained that as in depth as maybe I should have. So it was very nice how we can be inspired by others, because I already know all this. So if somebody doesn't really know, then to have that reflection. And that's where by being able to listen to other people and whatever they say, which may be triggering, may not be. In this case, it wasn't triggering at all for me, but where someone else's perspective can also be really helpful or useful, because we see our world from our worldview. And if we can help understand others, which I believe is also part of passion, is seeing people from, getting to see the world from their eyes, wherever they're at. And that can really bring a deep appreciation. Yeah. So I thought maybe today's subject could be the subconscious, because it's quite an amazing thing. And most people don't realize it's always there. It's always operating. And if someone's into computers, they would know in the computer, you might see, or your phone, you'll see, the screen and all of these things kind of at face value. But behind the scenes, there's all kinds of programs and things running. And so much like that, I mean, our subconscious is very similar to that as well. So there's all the stuff we see on the surface, but behind the scenes, there's all these processes and connections and disconnections, all these things happening in a subconscious way. That's actually, in part, the operating system of our life.
Yeah. Do you think that people don't really know very much about the subconscious thing?
I'm not sure. I know that most people have an idea of what the subconscious is. Some people have studied it really in depth, and some just on the surface. And so it's quite interesting. People don't realize that it's something that we could utilize to help ourselves if we want to. And I was wondering, so for like, what does subconscious mean to you? I'm curious. Question for both of you.
Yeah, I
Or
was
all of
thinking,
you.
yeah. Mason, do you have a thing you want to say about that?
Yeah, maybe. Oh, you got the real good-looking hair blowing in the wind, Mike. Looks like you're on the cover of a
Enough about
novella.
the hair. Enough about the hair.
Okay, okay, sorry to bring attention to it. Yeah, but yeah. So okay, I think I always try to think of things like biologically. Somehow that helps to try to imagine it in like a physical sense. So I feel like the subconscious is that it's the programming we run off. So let's say, from age 0 to 7 or in our development years, all the like information that we take in through any of our senses or feelings, I think it's like stored in the back of our brain, the reptilian part of our brain, and those neurons get created in our development years, and that's like a storage bank of information. Like, oh, like the stove is hot, and when people say this, it feels good, and when people do that, it's mean. And then all those experiences get pushed in our brain, like in a part of our brain, and then I think our subconscious is like our mind is always checking in with that and like running in with that. We see a dog coming down the street, so it's like our brain references that whole subconscious, all those memory cards we've stacked up in our life. Like, okay, dogs are usually friendly, and I know this guy, and like his dog's looking pretty happy. So, based on everything I know about dogs, I'm gonna like be nice to this dog right here. And I think all that happens like at the speed of thought, automatically, and that's our subconscious. It's like a physical part of our brain, yeah. And then what Jeremy said, like I think we can have an influence on that process. Like we can be aware of everything that's happening automatically, and we can kind of step in. We can step in with breath work or mindfulness and begin to rewrite some of the programming that our parents taught us, that our schools taught us, that our doctors taught us, that, you know, we're just like a sponge from age 0 to 25. So I think we've got 25, 30 years of subconscious built. And it can take an immense amount of work, maybe sitting in a monastery for years to try to unravel that programming. So I think that's what it is for me.
Interesting. So do you find that, so you find there's the biological process, and then how does that relate to like memory?
Yeah. So like I feel like well, this is where being a neuroscientist might help, because I think the memory is in the I forget, the amygdala. There's a specific part of the brain that deals with memory, and there's a specific part of the brain, I think, that deals with subconscious programming, we'll call it. But like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they're different. I feel like I think they're different. I feel like when a memory comes to me and I react to that memory, it's like a memory flashes in my mind and I see it like a movie clip, the same way I would remember a movie clip. And then when my subconscious prompts me to do something, it's like instinctual. I don't picture it in my mind's eye. It's like a body movement. It's like electrical pulses. Like it feels very automatic. I have to catch it and be like, oh, I did this thing, or I thought that thing. It's like I'm looking back on my subconscious always. Whereas a memory is like, oh, I'm picturing this time we went to this thing. I'm remembering how to, set up a tent because I'm remembering the last time I set up a tent. Yeah, okay, yeah. I just feel like they're slightly different. I haven't thought about them differently before now. I'm just thinking out loud here. But cool question.
How about you, Mike? What do you feel subconscious is? And that's the nice thing about perspective is, right? Everyone will have their own different perspective, and that collectively is considered to be treasure, to me anyways.
Yeah, well, I really like listening to Mason's description of the subconscious, and the way I was sort of kind of framing what I was hearing was it's like you're becoming kind of conscious of the underlying kind of architecture of your worldview. That our worldview is maintained by the beliefs and the experiences that our subconscious, and all the kinds of things that worked in the past to keep you safe, and kind of the things that you've learned from, you were talking about skill, just your worldview, your paradigm. You could call it your paradigm, and your subconscious is going to be it's going to be supporting that. And then I like your idea of as you become aware of that, you go, okay, well, this is this incredible power. So in terms of scale, in terms of influence in your lived day-to-day experience, and all of these like numbers are just completely sort of, just to give an idea of scale, it would be like if you were going to give a percentage on how much of your consciousness, the stuff that's actually building your worldview and affecting your day-to-day. And I think it's, like, again, the ages you're talking about, when you get to your 30s, or maybe younger, or maybe older, but at some point you start to ask yourself questions about, like, why is my life like this? Why does this same thing keep happening over and over and over again? And why is it so kind of, and you start asking questions that you don't have answers to, and then you start to become aware of consciousness itself, and then you become aware, and then you become aware of your subconscious. That's when you come into a place of power, because then you can start learn how about the subconscious works. So that's about 97% of what's going on for us in waking consciousness is actually coming from our subconscious. We're not actually aware of it. And about 3% is our conscious awareness. And they're just, just to give a sense of scale. And so becoming conscious in that 3% is amazing, because then you can start to go, oh wow, I can start to, oh, it's a bit scary as well, because the things in our subconscious that sometimes we feel powerless to change, where we keep on doing the same thing over and over and again, which is where you start to work with imagery and kind of relaxation and visualization and connecting to peace, and having different kind of different reframings for your subconscious. So it could be a garden that you're planting, or I quite like that as a metaphor. But it's a way of beginning to change your worldview, and as your worldview changes, then the world that you're seeing changes as well. So that's kind of that's what came up when I was listening to what you were saying, Mason. That's what came up for me.
Yeah, cool. That's super cool.
It's really interesting having the way that there's so much going on behind the scenes, so to speak, and our conscious awareness generally might only be able to process or capture quite a fraction of it. And so even something as simple as walking, right? I mean, consciously being able to actually consciously relax 75 muscles in a sequence, and in tandem contracting 64 muscles in order to walk or to move. Like, just that alone, the processing power would be immense if we had to consciously go into every single part, every single muscle, and flex it in the right sequence and relax another part in sequence. So there's that whole sort of automatic process, which I guess might be considered a bit to be more in a form of subconscious or our own body's consciousness. And it's not being conscious of our body, it's our body has its own kind of awareness. And I noticed that there's something similar to that with our emotional. There's a kind of emotional consciousness, and maybe even the spiritual one, if you can kind of categorize them in a simple three, like mind, body, spirit sort of thing. And with the conscious mind, that even with emotions, we may have emotions that come up that we're maybe not really aware of fully. So in that emotion, kind of like emotional subconscious, where there's this emotion there, we might not even know it's there in the background. And let's say somebody's not realizing that they're grumpy, or they're they're like a little bit kind of irritated. They may not know they're irritated at that point, and then they end up snapping at somebody, or rah, 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 and not realizing until maybe there's a reaction with that person, and that that person's like, they can see that, oh, that we just offended or hurt that person's feelings or something, and then that's when the reflection comes in, and we might become more conscious of that, like, oh yeah, if we can question that, like, where did that come from? Am I feeling frustration, or is it, am I in my daily cycle or moon cycle, or and so making that's another kind of form of subconscious that goes on as well, besides just the thinking part of things, right? So there's so many different layers.
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say, if you want to know what's going on in your subconscious mind, and at the level that it's affecting your current life circumstances, you look at your current life circumstances and go, okay, what keeps showing up for me that I don't actually like anymore, and I feel like I'm growing past it, and that's a nice thing to do. And then and you're beginning to realize. So then you're consciously, because you're becoming conscious of your subconscious, and as more of your own individual consciousness shines into your subconscious, then your own consciousness expands, because it's not so dark in the subconscious anymore. Your light's coming to it. Then that's the light of your attention. That's the light of your conscious. It's the light of peace. It's love. It's love for plants, love for one another, love for the self, love for the rocks, the baseball caps, whatever. You just kind of, the love that you put in. Does that make sense? Am I just rambling? No, I'm not rambling. Yeah, I'm making sense. Yeah.
It makes perfect sense for sure.
Yeah. So you're shining that light into the subconscious. So it's light into darkness. That's you're just illuminating what was dark before, because there's nothing to be afraid of really in your subconscious, because everybody is quite beautiful and innocent, and that means you're looking from a point of view. You're recognizing yourself as a soul, and you're thinking from that. So that's the new paradigm: is you see yourself as a soul, and you recognize your oneness with everybody else, and that you're safe, and that you're at home, and that you're loved, and that God is love, and love is coming back to you. The love that you give out comes back to you, and all that kind of stuff. And you can plant that into your subconscious garden, so more and more of that shows up for you as well.
Yeah, making it conscious.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there's one example. Let's say if anyone's tried to meditate or focus on a talk or something, and then a noise starts happening. Police sirens start happening, or someone's upstairs is hammering with a hammer, and all we're doing is trying to have peace and quiet, or meditate, or do something. And so by being conscious or aware that there's this trigger, whatever it is, the noise, what someone says creates that, like an instant flash of a trigger. If we can, that's a part of a programming generally, but from in the subconscious thing is happening. And so in meditation and prayer, that's a really good chance. It could be, if we choose to make it so, an opportunity to decide what to do with that feeling. Like, yes, there's this big noise and it's really feels really disturbing, and oh yeah, okay, right, so that feels disturbing. Okay, so in this moment, the noise is happening, and then we have the ability to be able to choose what to do with that. And there might be a family gathering, for example, at Christmas. There can often be where, like, people like going in the family groups, because there's always going to be a fight, or there's all these difficult feelings come up. And being able to really work on our consciousness, where we can be aware or prepare for that, knowing that somebody is going to say what they always say, which is part of their subconscious thing, right? So they're in this unconscious cycle where they just keep going through whatever it is their cycle is. And by being conscious of that, we can maybe better prepare ourselves within that. So when they do say that thing, they usually say, like, oh yeah, okay. I mean, we might be pleasantly surprised. We may have helped create a paradigm shift, and they don't say that same thing that's always offensive or derogatory or whatever. If we're prepared for that, we're more conscious, and then we're aware of this ripple effect that happens within our body, our nervous system, and then we're aware of that person's, in a compassionate kind of way, that they're in that cycle, and maybe they're an a-hole or whatever, but they might not even be aware that they're doing that constantly. And so that's where, by bringing the shining the light, like the example used of the consciousness, onto the subconscious, we can help navigate that. And I think it was Abraham Hicks, I believe, and maybe even Stuart Wilde. They had both mentioned the subconscious being a bit more like an analog tape. Like, you remember cassette tapes? The cassette tape goes around and around, and so the subconscious is always recording as it goes around. It's always recording. And so basically things will pop up, and then there's the narrative, like, there's the noise. Can't you shut it up? Why don't you turn your phone off? And there's like, there's that rattle that happens. And so that can really disturb our peace if we choose to. Or we can choose to see it in a different way. And that's where there's that subtle change of how perspective, how we perceive something, can be a benefit or a detriment. Like, to stress, our attitude towards stress can actually help boost our energy or drain us. And so in this analog tape that goes around and around as a subconscious, there's basically, let's say that if we're to pick a message, and this is part of how affirmations can work and mantras can work, that basically we say something to ourselves, or maybe we play something that that is in line with what we're trying to do. And eventually, whatever that event or that saying is, will go around the tape, and eventually it will pop up again, and it will pop up again. And so, in similar way that Mason, you were talking about the default mode network, there's this kind of default chatter of the brain that keeps coming up. I'm not good enough. I'm too slow. But actually, in how the positive speaking, or not even, doesn't even have to be positive, but the affirmations are, we're telling our subconscious, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want to feel. This is how I want to feel. And then the more times we do that, the more it pops up. And that's even part of something like the beads, right? The beads are, they might be considered great and they're magical or spiritual, but really the basic design was actually like as a counter to count. And so that you've done so many of things in a row. It also, if it can be trance inducing, because at that point you were then inducing a trance and saying the affirmation or saying the mantra in such a way that eventually it's in that analog tape. You're basically saying, I don't know, let's say just for the moment, let's try it. We're only gonna try 3 instead of 108, and a rosary has a different amount. But so let's just pick something right now to put in your analog tape, your subconscious. Okay, ready? Just take a moment, eyes open or closed. Something that you want to have repeat within your system. Okay. And when you have that, imagine that tape going around and around. And when you're ready, say that thing or imagine that thing, whatever you have just chosen to put into your analog subconscious tape. Put that in your own way 3 times. And do it some more if you want, if you like. And so any time is a good time to send yourself messages like that to your subconscious. And so by being here and being present, we can choose what we want our operating system, behind the scenes to do. And this has been discussed like over and over again, like positive mindsets and etc. Yeah, go for it, Mike.
Cool. So I would love to do that again. And then this just build in another little bit of the kind of puzzle with the subconscious is that, you can just repeat things. I remember with the beginning of this stuff for me, it was like I would repeat things just basically out of desperation because I was in such a difficult place. Because my subconscious was so conflicted. It was throughout my life experiences were quite difficult, quite challenging, and so that it's perfect okay even if you're in that state of desperation to sort of saying I am okay, I am okay, I am okay. Even if you don't mean it, it's fine. But say it with some feeling, like I am okay, I am okay. God, please tell me it's true. I am okay. But then so you get into the emotion, and then then you can get to the point where you feel a bit more kind of it's because as your heart's opening, you feel a bit safer as things begin to stabilize. When they do stabilize, then you can say it with like great deal of love and feeling for that. So I was going peace, 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 and I was saying it with like real, it was just warmth, because however you do it, it's just think about that you're actually, the more you can really feel into it and really, really mean it, the better. And that doesn't mean to say you shouldn't start where it's just like, oh, effing hell, please let this be true. The way people start praying when they're in real trouble. That's kind of what we're talking about. As you start praying, you start saying, actually, can I have some help? let's put some, and then what you're doing is you're actually putting those messages into your subconscious so that they will come back to you. You're also getting help as well, but we have to become aware of our own operating systems, as well, and that's not, that's a journey. That is a journey, that continues to be a journey, and it's a wonderful one as well. So I think I would love to do that exercise again, and then if we try and connect more with the emotion of it, and maybe invite everybody else to do the same. Is that a good idea?
I think it's fantastic. And for having, somebody may or may not connect with words as an affirmation. It might be feelings or images. And for example, early on, trying to say, from my experience, trying to say, I am happy, I am happy, I am happy, or I am calm, it didn't really work for me. So I searched for other things. And so one thing that I could imagine was clarity and peace. And so those words didn't really seem to be as enough. But when I said the word clarity, I also was bringing forward, what does clarity mean to me? So it was looking at a lake, where you're looking and you can actually see the bottom of the lake or the bottom of the sea, a fresh stream, a river flowing, the sky that's so like super clear that you can see all the stars. So all of the things that clarity meant to me as images and feelings, those were all coming in. So it wasn't as much as the word as also all of the things that what clarity meant to me. And for peace, the peace symbol popped up, people relaxing on a grassy field, birds just kind of soaring on a thermal. So it was all of the things that peace meant to me, and there were many kind of images and feelings that came up. And so then when repeating, on that analog tape, so to speak, when I was saying the word clarity, it was all the things that clarity meant to me, I was bringing forward. And peace, all of the things that peace meant to me. Even if I wasn't fully feeling it in that very moment, I knew what those things were to really associate with those. And so then I was putting those feelings and images into the subconscious.
So, and something I'm aware that's happening for a lot of people right now is a love of nature is kind of where maybe it wasn't such a big deal before. And so that could be another one where you can just go, nature, I love you. And you're sending love to nature. Let nature, I love you. Nature, I love you. Because, behind nature, what's behind nature? Spirit's behind nature, manifesting nature. So then you're actually saying, I love you to spirit. And that is all, that really puts you then in a frequency where you begin to feel that returns to you, because that's actually what the spirit wants. Is it's sending out all this love, and it just really wants us to go, oh yeah, thank you for that, I love you. I love you, nature, I love you, nature. You could just say that 3 times, and that would be nice, because that sets off a nice cascade. Have we got time to do it? We have got time to do it.
Yeah, we do. How about you, Mason? You have anything you'd like to share on?
Yeah, I know we've only got a few minutes. So much cool stuff came up when you guys were sharing all that stuff. Like, yeah, similar to you, Jeremy, I wrote, okay, what would my affirmation be? It's like, I am whole. And then it's like, and then I wonder, what does that mean? Okay, so I said, I am worthy. And then I thought, like, worthy for what exactly? And then I thought, okay, I'm just going to put, like, uh, what's something I can say that my mind will accept easily and not question? Why is my mind questioning these things? Like, so I am ready. And then I said, okay, well, ready for what? And I put, oh, I'm ready just for like the life that's ahead of me, the truth seeking. And that came to me like as a feeling. So you're right, words are just slightly different than feeling. And sometimes we have to take the feeling route in our imagination or our thinking. Um, And then when you were talking, Mike, I was thinking like, okay, yeah, what's the difference between like saying your affirmation in your mind or if you say it out loud? So it's like, okay, I'm worthy. You say that in your mind. And then if you were to look in the mirror or look at you guys and share it, say it's like, I am worthy. And like it feels different in my body, like when I think it and when I say it. And I work with I work with these concepts a lot in like the coaching. I work with these people on these and like how does it feel to say an affirmation? How does it feel to look in the mirror and tell yourself like, hey, I love you? And and the voice that you say out loud is different than the voice that you say in your head. And a lot of people that will come to a session and say, I've been thinking this thing for so long. I have this pattern thought. But then when we talk about it, it's like I've never heard myself say it that way. Yeah. So it's like the communication with yourself really brings things to life. And, of course, this is what a lot of therapy is for. We get stuck in self communication that's right negative. Oh, I'm not worthy, or I suck at that, or this is going to be too hard, or the job interview is going to be terrible, and I'm nervous. Those thoughts that we can think to ourselves have a real big impact on our biology. So yeah, the one last thing I do want to say, because I don't want to just catch up on everything you guys said, was yeah, this expansion you're talking about, Mike. Well, both of you, all of us are talking about that 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 conscious illumination of the subconscious, where we decide to do that, and then you say we expand from there. Like that's also something, consciousness or mindfulness, we would call it. I feel like what we're talking about, guys, it took it for me, it took me a long time to realize, oh, the expansion, like mindfulness, like your consciousness expansion, is not free. Like it has a lot of effort. It's not like, oh, this beautiful relationship with God and I talk and I download this message for meditation. It's like, oh, it's that, and it's also I've made this mistake 10 times in public, and I need to start recognizing what it was about my being that is making this mistake or this uncomfortable pattern, we call it. That's a gentler way to say it. And it can be like a real struggle for days, months, weeks, years to be like, oh, I got this pattern on lockdown and I'm paying attention to it. I'm paying attention to my feelings, my emotions, my thoughts. And that also is expansion in the same way as your commune with God and yourself. So it's like the expansion, consciousness on the rise is it can be an arduous, effort-filled journey, like what we're gonna call life. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone else is thinking these things. I'm thinking these things when I'm listening to you guys. It's cool. And I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy to get these gears going. Like I think it's good brain chemistry to be talking like this.
I think it's quite important to get clear on what a spiritual path is like. It's like, I don't know if people know, there's lots of challenges on a spiritual path. It's kind of hard. So it's fine. That's fine. It's just, I mean, one of the things is, it doesn't matter how many times you stumble and how many times you fall down. What's of most interest is like, when do you get yourself just getting back up again and learning from something? And if we had more time, I'd love to hear about what this mistake is that keeps showing up. That's kind of an interesting thing, but I know we're not sort of necessarily going to do that now. But the only thing I'd just like to share for anybody who's watching this, and I think we should just get to the thing the way we do it, is that, when I started with this kind of stuff with the subconscious, it was, I'm willing to believe that perhaps someday in the future, sometime, I might be able to accept that maybe I'm not such a terrible person after all. That's where I started. That's how I started with these. Because my ego was very, very like, yeah, you're proper piece of shit. You've really screwed up your life, and look at you, you're such a disappointment, and look at all the gifts you were given and how you've squandered. Look at the state of you. God, if anybody really knew you, oh my God, it's a good job that we're good. You stick with me. I'm good at pretending. We'll keep the show up. It's all right. It's fine. But
Mm.
No, you can't be saying you're a good person. And it was like that, you know. And it's okay because you start to impress it into your subconscious. Eventually, it starts coming around.
Yeah, like Jeremy said, that tape
Mm,
that's automatically playing, and it's
yeah.
yeah, I'm like that's tough. That can be a rough place to be having those conversations with yourself. But I'm
It's just
glad that you're here having these conversations with us.
it's just a necessary part of your journey is to just to come into consciousness of what is actually going on in your consciousness. That's okay. There's no stigma involved. You know, people do get very shame can be a part of this, but you know, it's not. It's just we're human. You know, it's we all pick up our stuff as we go along, and then we come to a point where we ask ourselves questions, which means our heart starts to open. Because when we start to ask ourselves questions about, you know, who am I and what is this place and what is outside of, you know, what I thought was real, and you know, that's happening for lots of people, and that's a beautiful thing.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. If you explore out there, you find these good feelings outside of the negative self-talk and outside of the subconscious programming walls that are up. You learn they're invisible. You find these good feelings. And yeah, I would love it if any of our conversations helped anybody find like a single good feeling. So I'm hoping we can do that with these get-togethers. Yes, brother. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, I got this energy about it that I'm thinking about right now,
Should
which I'm
we?
saying, which we're doing.
Cool. Should we?
Anyway,
Should
so yeah,
we?
we should do the thing.
Having
We should
so
invite.
having said all of that, then we'll just invite everyone who's stumbled across this to do that. We'll do the second part of the exercise. We'll just do it together. Jeremy, over to you.
Okay. Having a sense of curiosity, a sense of wonder, because we don't always really know what we're going to discover. And we always don't really know the way that, or whatever we need to learn in order to do whatever we need to do and feel however we want to feel. And having a kind of sense of humility, being very, very humble in that we only know as much as we know and that we are our works in progress, and being able to have compassion for ourselves and for others, that we are works in progress. And by being able to understand different aspects of ourselves, isn't it wonderful that we can just have that sense of learning, of understanding? And there's so much more than our conscious mind might be able to comprehend. And so by peering into the different parts of our world and our inner universe, the outer universe can bring some wonderful discoveries, and not always easy. And so maybe it's a good time for us today to continue getting in contact with our subconscious in a way that's safe, in a way that is going to be caring in the way that we need, and for having a conversation with our subconscious or utilizing that subconscious, that background program, finding a way that you might like to visualize your subconscious. Now, some people, they like the analog tape. Some people like the idea of a computer. Some maybe have another way that they want to imagine it, as a geometric shape, or maybe even as a sound, as something humming, or maybe even as a certain combination of smells. So whatever you choose in this moment, the past is not here. The future is also not here. Right now, we're at the intersection of everything. And so at this point, making yourself comfortable, and however you'd like to work with your subconscious for today, in relaying communications to it, taking a moment with your eyes open and your eyes closed, and just noticing whatever it is you need to notice. For me, I like the analog tape as this thing is moving around and around. but you pick something for yourself. And when you're ready, let's create an affirmation, a message to put into the program of our subconscious. And so it can be a word or words or a phrase. Something that has meaning to you. And with that word or those words or a phrase, bringing up all of what do those phrases mean to you. Any images or feelings around those. So in your own time, take some time just to play with those words or those phrases, those feelings and images, maybe even smells or sounds, and bring that into your space. And for the next minute, just 1 minute, say those words to yourself. Bring those images in any way that you wish. Over and over, 3 times, 10 times. It's up to you. Or even just once if that's all you need. In your own way, starting now. We're halfway there, maybe taking a deep, gentle breath, softening any parts you need to soften. And again, continue. Good. And for the last few seconds, if you want to change the words, images, feelings, smells, adjust them a little bit more, and do if you want to. And let's do a few more. 3 more. And coming into your center, into the space, into your room, your heart, your toes, knees, and face. And so that's one way that you might be able to work together with your subconscious in helping nourish your subconscious, giving it the things that you want, much like food or eating. I remember, I think it might have been, one of, I'm sure he wasn't the originator of it, but someone who might be a guest by the name of Mike Kuroto. And so he was a karate teacher for many, many years, and also as a pastor, if I'm using the right term. But he had a long time ago, like 30 years ago, I remember him and when he was teaching class, and he said, it's like garbage in, garbage out. So if you're putting garbage in, then why are you expecting a fantastic output? So, and meaning for nutrition and for thoughts and for what we feed ourselves. And that's just one way that he explains, right? And so having that curiosity and exploring, there might be certain things that you really love. Like, for example, some people love doing color wheels. Some people love spinning a crystal, and they're just fascinating with the clarity of a crystal. And when we focus on that enough times, the subconscious has that in record. And then later on, when we're not even trying, guess what pops up? The crystal, or the clarity, or the love, or the compassion. And that continues to pop up. In Tibetan Buddhism, there's a practice where they spin a wheel. It's a prayer wheel. As they're spinning the prayer, the idea is you do have to keep spinning the wheel, but eventually, no matter what is happening everywhere, there could be all kinds of things going on, but that wheel has enough momentum. The subconscious has been nourished in such a way that it has momentum. So there might be a mark on it, from something negative that happens or a thought, but then after that, there's enough momentum that actually will have a lot more resilience down the road. And generally, we're, in the advanced way, we're hanging out in bliss all the time, night or day or night. We're in bliss. We're all right down the road.
Beautiful. And so that is our wrap. As our time is up. So thank you for joining us for this Spiritual Sunday, and for planting I was planting seeds in the garden in my subconscious. And I had this chant coming, because we could talk about chanting another time, I guess. But it was spirit and nature dancing together. Victory to spirit, victory to nature. Spirit and nature dancing together. Victory to spirit, victory to nature. Cool. We'll see you all. The link. If you want to continue, we are continuing conversation on Zoom, but you'll have to go to coursesforspirit.ca, coursesforspirit.ca, and look for the workshops and click on the Zoom link, and so that's not going to be recorded. That's a private conversation. So let's stop the live stream.